Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us to the CTO Conclave Networks of Tomorrow, Transforming Networks for 5G Enablement. This fireside chat today. I'm Darren Yong. I'm from KPMG Asia Pacific, and I lead the telecom, media, and technology sector. With us tonight, we've got Nitin Bansal, who's working with Ericsson, the MD of Ericsson for India, and we've also got Ivan Bykov, the 5G Solution Product Manager for Ribbon Communication. So, we're talking about this really interesting topic, obviously, around 5G. And I think we've heard a lot about it in the region, around the world, high speed, low latency, mass connectivity. But from my perspective, and I think I'd like to hear from the panels, we're hearing a lot of challenges around 5G B2B monetization. How do I get value out of the 5G network when I'm spending more? But from my other point of view around infrastructure and network splitting and 5G tower consolidation, how do telcos get more value out of their infrastructure investments? And also having one networks to enable, we're seeing telcos really relook at their business models, and we're really thinking about, well, if I were to look at things differently, how can I monetize my data? How can I create new business models? And last but not least, because of this change in connectivity, the interaction of IoT and things like autonomous vehicles, the changes in the way governments are looking at this security, regulation, and the risks associated with how data is going to be traversing all around us. So perhaps I can just start off and ask Ivan for some comments on this. I mean, I know Ivan, you're working in this space around infrastructure and what you're seeing around the world. Tell us what you're seeing and maybe share some insights that you're seeing around this space.
In operators in India are enjoying the boom of data usage, but they're struggling financially in the face of challenging regulatory environment, and we see the key challenges in the key problems what the mobile operators are facing right now is the changes in the needs of the investments in their infrastructure in radio in the upper frontier and the penetration of the fiber optics in the areas, in the rural areas. What we see that today the fiber optic penetration is quite low, and the requirements for the 5G in millimeter wave, the gigahertz bands, they need to be more fiber, and also the low RPU, which is the biggest issue of the market. And what we see could be tolerated with infrastructure sharing and spectrum sharing and the transport infrastructure sharing. So we see that this is one of the key points what will be fueling the 5G markets in the upcoming 2-3 years. And the implementation of the radio functions in 4G with DSS and massive MIMO in 4G and the new bands in 5G, they will be also demanding the more capacity on the infrastructure, and this what we see will be the next steps for the development of the 5G use case.
And I think what I'm hearing is that without infrastructure uplift, terrestrial support of that, 5G at the edge or needs to be supported all throughout end to end. Nitin, from your point of view, I mean, working with Ericsson across India and Southeast Asia and Oceania, your coverage is vast. What are you seeing in the context of this topic? Anything you can share with the audience here tonight?
Sure, Darren. And I mean, this is a very important topic for all of us, right? And for us, the way we look at it is, and specifically for India as well, for that matter, 5G or basic connectivity should be classified as a critical national infrastructure. And the reason why we say that is because it is becoming more important to have a robust, stable, and a good connectivity foundation, right? And the technology so far have proven to be good, and 5G will make it even stronger. Now, when it comes to 5G in particular, we see that there is a need not only for consumers, but also for enterprises. So looking at the Indian context, and we released our mobility and consumer report just a couple of days ago, what we are estimating is that by the year 2030, there would be at least $17 billion of revenue that the telecom service providers in India can benefit from applications coming from the industrial side, the B2B side that you said, right? Because the B2C will continue. Again, our report predicted that there will be an increase in data consumption with a CAGR of 20%. So that's on the consumer side, right? And the data consumption will continue to grow. And we have also seen this during the pandemic when there was work from home and those kind of things. There was an increased need for a reliable connectivity there, right? So overall, I mean, what is required is that we are able to get this going as fast as we can. Because the potential is there, both on B2C and also on B2B.
Absolutely, and I think someone was saying to me, it might take 4 to 5 times cost or capex to build a 5G network end to end across a nation, let's say, and I think all of us as consumers aren't going to be spending 4 to 5 times more on our mobile phone bill, are we, to pay for that? So that's where the struggle is with the enterprise side, and they're trying to monetize it in different ways. If I turn the conversation a bit to the India context and what you're seeing around how 5G can really lift the nation up, some of the things that we're seeing across the region is digital competitiveness, what 5G can do as an economy, what this could do to really transform a nation such as India. And I guess for that to happen, from your context point of view, Ivan, what would you think would be really important for the nation of India, the governments and businesses and consumers to be thinking about as we look at, improving the competitiveness of India as a nation and really the technology sort of enablement that goes with that?
I see that the one of the key points is from the government is the releasing spectrum bands additional to what is already in use in order to give the capabilities of the massive broadband and the IoT to go with the regulation further and to allow the building and the fiber optical penetration in the regions. Plus, I think that allowing and maybe even co-funding of the infrastructural operator and vendor who will be doing the connectivity to the last mile in infrastructure in order to connect business customers and enterprises to the high speed backbone and the infrastructure in metro, which will be fueling the deployment and use cases like Industry 4.0, like e-health, and the massive broadband for the customers, because this is the booming the volume of the data in pandemic isolation.
Yeah, and I guess a bit of a controversial one perhaps for you, Nitin, in your business of selling multiple networks. But if I were to say, there's a train of thought that says, what, maybe telcos just need one network of 5G for the nation, and they can advance the nation forward more versus multiple ones. I mean, what's your sort of thought on that? I mean, would it make sense for a country just to have one carriage provider and sharing that network, or what's your thought on having multiple in this context? I mean, any insight or comments around that?
Well, I mean, competition is good, and competition is good in every area, right? Whether it's the vendors, the OEMs, the infrastructure providers, or the telecom operators, right? And it's all about differentiation. How do you differentiate the service that consumers are willing to pay for and use, right? So ideally speaking, there are decisions being taken on this aspect as well. But however, I would say that it's not good to have one nationwide network, and that's more because there has to be competition and there has to be a differentiation in the service offering.
That's a great point. And I know if I just reflect on toll roads around the world where you have a private entity charging you through the nose to ride those, you certainly don't want to be in that situation. So I guess, I think this is a really interesting topic around 5G and where it's headed. I mean, I guess what I'd like to maybe perhaps land on or focus in on is if I were to just ask each of you, what do you think would be some key takeaways for this audience today in the context of where 5G is going? Perhaps I'll start with Ivan and Nitin, you can round it up. But Ivan, what would be your sort of key takeaways or comments to the audience tonight?
Yeah, the building of the use case of the 5G, the implementation of the massive connectivities, the transformation of the network infrastructure, and maybe the finding the opportunity to work together, because the use case of the 5G have to be more fortified with the alliances, not only with between mobile operators and government, but also with mobile operators and the vendors and the suppliers.
That's a great point, Ivan. And certainly that ecosystem, I'm hearing a lot more, because each country has its own ecosystem and there's opportunity in solving that use case problem. I think doing that more collectively is certainly going to help advance the adoption of 5G and the value by which it promises all of us. And Nitin, from your point of view, what's your thought on that?
Well, I mean, it's basically that 5G is a technology which is more efficient than the previous Gs, not only in terms of cost of production of gigabyte, but also in terms of the services they can offer, right? So one of the things that we look at, and we have almost 70 or more than 70 live commercial networks on 5G globally from Ericsson. What we have seen is that the consumer applications or the consumer needs for enhanced mobile broadband and fixed wireless access are the ones which are here and now, also very, very relevant for India. On the B2B side, I mean, I share that there is a revenue opportunity of about $17 billion by 2030, right? In the same study, we showed that only from consumer kind of or B2C kind of applications, there is an additional revenue potential of $297 billion for India, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. And I mean, this is a good way to increase the ARPU in the networks as well, because there is also a willingness, again, referring back to our study, right? 1 in 3 are willing to pay 50% or 20% more for 5G services, right? And you can also bring in a lot of augmented reality, virtual reality, and additional cloud gaming and other capabilities, which will help the telecom service providers also to monetize it and also give them a possibility to increase ARPU. So both from B2B and also B2C, and also looking at how critical a robust connectivity platform is required, I think 5G for the country is a must-have.
Well, thanks, Nitin, for those words of wisdom. I think certainly a lot for us to take away and think about. Thank you, and also you, Ivan, for your time, and also all your work that you've been doing across your geographies to support all of the clients that you're working for to advance them in 5G. And on behalf of myself and the team, thank you all for listening to this Indian Mobile Congress as well. Hope you enjoyed the session and look forward to all being in touch in the future. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you.